name's Amanda. Up until around 5 years ago, I didn't consider myself a creative person. While I considered myself creative adjacent, since I danced and my work after college was in helping music artists, I didn't have much desire to be an artist myself, probably because I didn't believe that I had any artistic vision or any faith in myself that I could do it. But all that changed once I began my spiritual journey, and now I'm pretty sure that my younger self wouldn't even recognize the creative person I've become. Now I know how to DJ and produce music, just basic compositions, and I've been able to make some actual music with that. I write poetry, I edit videos, I make 2D and 3D animations, I do 3D modeling and sculpting, digital art, graphic design, sewing and basic garment construction, branding, and more. But I will say that when I just started getting creative, I was filled with so much doubt and frustration and lack of confidence in myself that often just paralyzed me and made me feel so hopeless in my creative abilities, until I eventually learned that that was all just kind of part of the creative process and what you have to go through to begin your journey as an artist. I've learned that with the right mindset, anyone can be creative. So for anyone who's looking to get more creative, or maybe you're embarking on your creative journey and you could use some motivation or some help getting started, just stay tuned for my best tips and advice to start thinking like an artist. My first tip is decide which mediums speak to you. So sometimes choosing the best manner of expressing yourself takes some figuring out, and it can evolve naturally through your creative journey as your skills and interests develop. Sometimes it can be a combination of mediums like improvisational dance with music and projection visuals recorded on film. Maybe you love the tactile feeling of a brush on canvas, and it's so satisfying seeing the painting come to life before your eyes. Or maybe you love visual arts, but you grow impatient with manual methods, and you find the ease of creating artwork in Photoshop just to be much more intuitive to you. Perhaps you start making digital collages, and then you realize that it would look even cooler if your artwork moved, so you decide to take it into After Effects and animate it. You might enjoy making music, but decide that your productions lose that organic feel, so you decide to start recording live instruments and implementing them into your music. As you can see, there's a lot of experimentation and personalization involved in the beginning phases of any creative project. It just depends on your unique talents, your preferred methods that make you feel most at ease, and produce the most satisfying results that can best deliver the message that you're trying to communicate. For example, with my visual creation, I started with 2D software, but I wasn't satisfied with the level of realism that I could create, so that's why I moved into 3D, and so I could have more control of the look and feel of my scene. Many artists use multiple mediums and materials and methods, just depending on their own artistic vision. And it's all about choosing the best tools to showcase your unique talents that will allow you to express yourself as effectively and beautifully as possible. Keep experimenting and trying new programs, methods, and just combining them in your own unique way until you find an artistic style that resonates with you and speaks to your highest expression. There's mosquitoes here. My second creativity tip is learn the language. So once you decide what mediums you'll use, it's important that you delve into your craft by getting super familiar with the tools that you'll be using. So if that's a camera, make sure you read the manual and just use all the buttons and navigation as you're reading, and then maybe sign up for an online photography course. And if you're going to be producing music, then just read the entire getting started part of the software and just maybe take notes. You'd be surprised how much you can learn by reading the manual, and it's an essential first step to creating. Take it from me, who's wasted a lot of time just trying to cut corners and think that I can just figure it out on my own. That does not work, and it's just much easier to start by learning everything you can. Once you know your tools inside and out, it will be so much quicker and easier to make exactly what you want. Getting familiar with the lingo and different options of software can be one of the biggest and most intimidating barriers to entry to just getting started. So as a personal example, when I started getting into 3D modeling, it was extremely daunting to find a program that was easy to use and what was the best program to use. So I started with a free program called Blender, and it was so confusing and difficult to navigate. I just hated using it, and I found it so challenging, and I still don't understand how that program works. Like, I just still get in there and I'm so confused. So then I eventually tried a software called Cinema 4D, and it's so much more intuitive to me, and it's so much easier to navigate, and it makes so much sense to me. And so Once I found that, I was just like so much more comfortable with the process of working in 3D. But before that, I almost just gave up because I thought that Blender was how all 3D programs were, and that it was just super confusing and that I couldn't figure it out. So each medium has its own unique set of tools and language that you need to maybe read up on before you start creating. Based on your own goals, there are certain tools you might need to achieve your desired result. So for example, if you want to achieve a specific look on your canvas, you might need to buy a specific type of paint or download a specific pack of brushes if you're using Photoshop. And so by finding a creative community with similar interests, whether that's YouTube or forums or music sharing communities, you can ask questions and figure out exactly what you're looking for to make exactly what you want. My third tip for creativity is organization is creativity's best friend. So when you think of creative people, the stereotype is often that they're brilliant yet chaotic, messy, and are just so consumed by their art that they can't be bothered with boring earthly matters like tidying up. Right? Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. While a rare few might thrive on chaos, it's very important that artists maintain order and structure in their workflow in order to allow those brilliant ideas to flow through, while not wasting time on unnecessary details. So it's necessary to have systems in place so you can achieve your creative goals effectively. For example, if you're learning creative skills on YouTube, it's really helpful to organize your playlists. So say you have a playlist for graphic design tutorials, and then you have a playlist for illustration tutorials, and then you have them all lined up. Just because it's very important to actually be interested in the project that you're working on in order to be motivated. So if you have a bunch of videos that you're interested in lined up, you don't lose steam once you're ready to create. You're like, where's that tutorial I was looking for? I wanted to learn that, and you can't find it. So just being organized is really important. A DJ also might have thousands of tracks, but until they develop a system for organizing their playlists or just tagging tracks in a way that feels intuitive to them, they'll waste tons of time on digging through different files and just doubling back, and they'll grow increasingly frustrated and just spend hours wasting time. And this can just really impede your creativity because you get so frustrated that you don't even want to work on it anymore, and you're just like, ugh, like you just feel really over it, and it can make you feel really discouraged and avoidant of the process. In truth, it can take a lot of thought to hone your own organizational method, especially if this is new for you. So when I first started learning to DJ, I actually had about 10 different playlists that were organized by mood, but I kept getting really confused and forgetting where I sorted different tracks and losing track of them. Sometime later, after lots of rethinking of my methods of organization, I now actually just have one DJ playlist. My thought is that if there's a general kind of party vibe I'm going for, the exact mood or nuances of the track shouldn't matter that much as long as it's good enough and I like it and I kind of know it enough to know where it fits in the mix. Then that's enough for me, and I shouldn't need a whole elaborate group of playlists just to sort everything. So just having everything in one place is much easier for me. How you organize depends on your own unique artistic approach and what will best streamline the process for you and your specific goals. Another personal example is when I started my 3D work, I underestimated and didn't fully understand the importance of workflow. So I had a workspace that was super messy with all these different objects that I didn't name all over the place, and I spent so much time just like backtracking, trying to find a specific object in the long list of objects. That's how I learned the hard way the importance of naming and grouping objects and putting them in some sort of order. Keep this in mind sooner rather than later. Keeping organized and taking time to plan your organizational approach will just save you so much time in the long run and countless hours and headaches in your creative projects. Alright, my fourth tip is accessibility is key. So accessibility is defined as being easy to obtain or use, and here's why it's so important in relation to creativity. I'm going to give you another personal example about DJing. For the longest time, I just kept saying how I really wanted to work on music and improve my DJ skills and put more work into the process. Eventually, I realized the one big reason I wasn't ever getting around to it was because my equipment wasn't easily accessible or available to use in a way that allowed easy access and fit my lifestyle. So my controller was hidden away and required some time to set up, and my house had one good set of speakers sequestered away in the living room, which was the place that I didn't even really enjoy working. So once I identified this issue, I thought of a plan that would better suit my specific needs and lifestyle for enjoying music. So I needed a small, lightweight, portable speaker that still had good low frequencies and was preferably wireless and rechargeable so I could just bring it around with me everywhere. I soon decided on a portable Sonos speaker called the Sonos Move. It got great reviews and I just had really good experiences with the brand before. Once I received my speaker in the mail, listening to music just got so much easier. I could quickly recharge, I could quickly connect to Bluetooth, just start playing music anywhere in my house. It was super streamlined, not a lot of extra apps or anything I had to download. I could just hook it up to any device. And later I tried connecting the speaker to my controller and I found that that was also super simple to set up. Now I could just use it anywhere on the go, even outside on my porch, or just bring it to the park or something. It's just the perfect solution for me. Now I find myself naturally listening to music more just because it's something that's very important to me and it's very important that it's incorporated into my life. And I just found the perfect solution by first identifying my barriers to accessibility within my creative process. And this could also apply to just having a working computer, sorting out any glitches you might have in software, even if that's just tidying up your workspace so that it feels more inviting when you feel ready to sit down and create. And it might be having a private, well-lit place where you feel comfortable recording videos. Like I found this private place and it really helps me feel inspired. So just take time to start thinking about your own creative setups and see if your creative blocks might be stemming from something that might simply be an accessibility issue. My fifth tip is don't force it. One important thing about creativity is that it's an ebb and flow. So this applies to the long term and also on a consistent daily basis. So I usually have multiple creative projects going on in different areas, be that fashion or music or video, and often creative ideas light me up in different areas while others meanwhile remain on the back burner. I might go months or maybe even an entire year before I get another flash of inspiration in one area. I follow that creative idea until I've followed it as far as I can, and I just wait for another creative spark to light me up. So I used to not understand this process because it was all new to me, so I would get very anxious and upset when creative inspiration wouldn't strike in a particular area for a long time, and I'd worry I'd never pursue that creative endeavor again because I'd have no new ideas or any interest in working on that project at that time. For a long time I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with 3D modeling after not working on it for months, and then one day I was at a consignment store and I just saw this beautiful little diorama of a little girl's room, and it was so inspiring to me and I wanted to instantly recreate it in 3D. So when I came back to it, a lot of the concepts of navigation and the tools of modeling suddenly just made sense to me. And at first, the months before when I'd been working on it, it just wasn't clicking at all. On a more day-to-day basis, it's very helpful to set aside time for creative work and at least try to lay out some ideas or practice your skills pertaining to that area of expertise. And if you get stuck on something, it's best to just stand up and get away from your project for a little while. For me, I found very rarely does it help to sit there and stew in my frustration if something isn't working. So many times in my 3D projects, I just haven't been able to figure out how to make something. So I just save it and then I decide to come back to it later. And then so many times, right before I'm falling asleep in bed, I'll just realize that my brain has been subconsciously working on the problem in the background. And then I'll often get an idea for another way to potentially build the object or another method I can try. And that just pops into my head out of the blue right before I'm falling asleep. Just trust that your creative ideas will work out. Your brain might just solve creative problems in a way that might not seem logical or obvious to you. But the more experience you have, the more you'll understand that your brain's methods of creative problem solving are unique to you. And then you'll just learn to adjust accordingly. Sometimes it takes time for the brain to make those neural connections, and it might be working in the background without your even knowing. For my sixth tip for creativity, believe in yourself. Just believe in your ideas and that your creativity is worth following. Even if you've never made a single creative thing in your life, just know that the fact that your soul desires something, like learning a creative skill or embarking on a creative project that's completely new territory for you, trust that you have this passion because it's what your heart wants and it's somehow meant for you to follow that creative idea. Try to identify mental blocks like I'm not a musician or I don't have the right equipment, and disprove those limiting beliefs to yourself. My answer to you would be almost no one is born an artist, and putting time and effort into your ideas matters much more than natural born talent. Most artists start by trying to replicate other artists and just eventually finding their own unique blend of styles through just trying different methods. And you probably don't need all that fancy equipment at first anyway. So what can you do right now to start working on it? So just go slowly and build your confidence, and remember all the times it worked out when you trusted yourself and you followed your heart, which will never lead you astray. I hope you liked this video, and please like this video if you learned something new. I love you and thanks so much for watching. Bye.